What it is, what is up, what is good, gamers? This is Shonuff 71, aka Digadulamite,
Konnichiwa.
and we're here with hope, and hopefully your auditory canals are ready for a very special episode 243 of the Gaming Vessels podcast. All right, folks, as I just mentioned in this kind of quick and dirty intro, this is a very special episode because 2/3 of our hosts of this show have just returned from a 2-week extravaganza from
Japan.
There we go.
Japan.
So that's what this episode is going to be about. So there's not going to be a what you've been playing. There's not going to be a question of the week, vessel line. Our regular format is going to return next week. But for this episode, we're going to focus entirely on the trip that Dez and Joe, aka the high res hater and jabroni chief, took to Japan. So we're going to cut the nonsense and get right into it. So I'm going to throw out this first question to both of you. I want to start the questions off just with the flight. Was this is both of you have been to Japan before, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, just Joe has been. A quick little background about how this all came around. About 20 years ago, I had wanted to go to Japan because there's a band that I really like who's no longer together called Supercar. And I was a huge fan. And they were doing this huge tour in Japan, and it was like their final leg of their tour. And I wanted to go and see them. So I had, made all these arrangements and everything for it. And I wanted to, bring Joe. This was going to be me and Joe. And I had a therapist at the time, and I'm talking to my therapist about it, and he was like, well, do you really want to do this? Because I know that you're really wanting to also go to school and really complete your schooling. And so I thought about it for a while, and I was like, you know what, I really have been putting a lot of effort, to going back to school, and this will kind of, derail it for a little bit because it's going to cost a little bit of money. And so, I let that better part of me take over, and I did not go. Our friend Terry took my spot. So Joe was still able to go with Terry, and I took him to I drove him to the airport and, picked him up and everything. So that was originally what had happened. But I swore, though, that when I was done with my schooling, I would go to Japan. And I made good on that promise because I graduated with my master's degree last year. And I just said, okay, I'm going to go do this now. And I told Joe, and I said, look, I'm going to Japan. Paul and I are going to Japan. I'd love for you to come with me. And he said, of course. And so that's kind of how it happened. And then we started planning the trip last August. Yeah, I want to say August. And then I bought the tickets in October, and then it's been just setting up everything for the trip. So, and I did a whole bunch of, research, and so did Joe, about, when to go to Japan, where to go, where to stay, blah, blah, blah. And so we chose the end of March, beginning of April, because that was like a really, not too busy, not too hot, not too cold, kind of time to go to Japan. And it worked out perfectly. So that's basically the impetus about like how it started and how we decided to make this trip in the first place. So, um, the flight itself took 12 and a half hours. Um, and it really went by relatively, in my opinion, relatively quickly. We flew nonstop from SFO to Narita Airport in Tokyo. So, and what you do, if you don't know, you fly north all the way towards the North Pole, and then you skirt across Alaska, the top of Russia, or sorry, yeah, top of Russia, almost around there, and you come down towards the top of Japan. And what's funny is it doesn't get dark at all. So we're on the flight for 12 and a half hours, and it didn't get dark at all. So it didn't. It was crazy. So we're just on this plane, and it never got dark. And so we're like, okay. So we left at 5:30 on a Sunday, and we arrived at 3:30. So we left 5:30.
We didn't leave at 5:30. We left at noon, I thought, right?
Sorry, so 5:30 is when we came home. You're right. Sorry, we left at noon on Sunday, SFO time, California SFO time, Pacific Standard Time, and then we landed in Japan on Monday at 3:30. So
PM or AM?
PM. Yeah. It was pretty crazy because Japan is 16 hours ahead of California. So yeah, we landed and it was crazy. We had to go through customs and everything, and it was an hour and a half going through customs. So, but yeah, I'll let Joe take over so he can tell us about our wonderful time getting to our first hotel, because we landed in Japan, but we had to get down to Osaka because that's where we were starting our trip. So, and if you don't know, Osaka's a couple hours south of Tokyo. Well, southwest of Tokyo. So I'll let Joe take over.
Well, yeah, for our flight, I mean, we're not sitting together, so it was something where we didn't confirm the
which is my bad. That was my bad.
Well, it actually came out to be a good thing, I think, in my opinion, because
not for you, you bastard.
Well, no, it's just like you get three bigger guys sitting next to each other on an airplane, and obviously you got to roll the dice sometimes.
Why you downplaying it, Joe? So Joe's not telling you that before we left, Joe got moved to a better seat by the emergency exit. So Joe had plenty of leg room and was all up, like he was laying in a tent, just straight up, right? And so Paul and I are in middle seats in the back, between these people. So but don't let him fool you. Joe had quite the leg room going to Japan.
Yeah, talking about the flight. Yeah, I mean it was okay. I mean pretty much. I brought both my Switch and my Steam Deck with me, and I wound up busting out my Steam Deck. But really, even with that additional leg room, I just didn't feel like I had the adequate elbow space to be able to really get comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise I was busting out with a tablet, which I had some stuff loaded onto it, but I was like reading manga. I was reading some game magazines I loaded onto there, and so that kind of got me by. I know Dez, he wound up paying, how much was the Wi-Fi? It was like $30, $20.
It was $20.
Yeah,
for the Wi-Fi.
My cheap ass didn't want internet, and didn't want to pay $20 for internet access. I should have paid for it in hindsight. But
the main thing about it, which was really weird, is you really can't, like, it. You can use it, but mainly it's for communication. Because they have their own in-flight like entertainment center that you can that you can connect to, and you can watch stuff on your phone. You can watch it on the headset. That's like on the back of every seat is a monitor, and you can basically watch whatever you want to watch, and you can watch the plane, you can watch how long it's taking, how far you've gone, stuff like that, because it kind of geocodes where you're at when you're flying. But the experience, to tell you the God's honest truth, Joe, the only thing that I wouldn't have paid for the internet had I known of how limited it was, because the only thing that was really cool was I was able to talk to my friends on WhatsApp, because WhatsApp uses the Wi-Fi. It doesn't use the cell phone towers and that system. It uses Wi-Fi, so you can actually talk to people that way. So I was able to talk to like my friends and stuff like that while I was flying. So that's what I ended up doing with it. And I would have saved that money and just watched what I had on my phone or read stuff. So for me, I didn't really get my money's worth out of it, and I probably will never do that again the next time we go. So this wasn't worth it.
Yeah. The food was okay as far as, because was it Japan Airlines? I forgot the name.
All Nippon Airways.
Okay, so APA. So
ANA.
ANA. Okay.
ANA?
Nippon.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically all Japan Airways. So
Okay.
and it was ran by United. So it's a, I guess you could say it's mostly a domestic carrier within Japan, but they do intercontinental flights. But they are hosted by United, so they use United's terminals in America. So,
okay. All right. So you touched down in Osaka, right?
No, we touched down in Japan.
Yeah, in Narita. In
Narita. Okay.
Which is an hour.
I thought that was the name of the airport in Osaka.
No. Narita
Okay.
Airport is outside of Japan, and it's an hour north of Japan.
Hour north of Tokyo.
Sorry, an hour north of Tokyo. Sorry, yes. Sorry.
Okay. So then you had to get on another plane to actually get to.
Oh, no. We were riding the rails, sir. We were riding the rails.
High-speed train?
We actually rode the high-speed train. We rode this. You could say it. What is it, Joe? The
Shinkansen.
The Shinkansen. But we had to pick up the Shinkansen in Tokyo. So we had to ride the Narita Express from the airport to Tokyo Station, then get on another train. So it was an hour from the airport to Tokyo Station, then another 2.5 hours from Tokyo Station to Osaka Station. So yeah,
it was kind of, because Desmond booked tickets for 7:00, and we did not make it in time to get on the Shinkansen at 7. So
we were 15 minutes late. I was so annoyed. I was like, damn it. So annoyed.
We had to figure out basically how to get on the next train, the Shinkansen, and to be able to take the express, because Shinkansen has two separate schedules. They have one where it stops at more stops, and then they have the express one that only stops at certain places on there. So, and we had reserved seats on the 7:00 Shinkansen, but what happened was because of what happened, we just had to find any seat that was available. And by the time I think we got on the Shinkansen, we're already running on
fumes.
Yeah, I was going to say like a quarter of a tank, but it's
No, it's about 30. Well, after, remember, we rode the train. So we took BART from Concord into SFO. So that was another hour right there.
Yeah,
another 12.5 hours.
We started our trip at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. Leaving. So and we didn't get to Osaka until to our hotel room. We didn't get there until around 8:30, 9 o'clock Monday evening. So we literally were awake for about 24 hours. So, but what's crazy is because for me, I didn't really think about it because it was always daytime, and I just kind of quickly adjusted to the time. So we ended up staying up and then getting some food before crashing. So it was like, I would say about, 7:00 Tokyo time, which was like 4 or 5 a.m. in California, is when I started to fade a little bit. But for the most part, when you're in travel mode, it's like, we got to get there. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. So
got that little adrenaline rush that's keeping you,
mm-hmm.
Keeping you in motion. Okay, so I got to ask this: traveling. I'm assuming neither one of you can read Japanese.
No.
How is it for folks that can't read the language? coming, or our English speakers, let's just say, coming into Japan and getting around, trying to get to the main stations, getting to your destination? Did you find that difficult, or do they have special kiosks or things set up to help non-Japanese readers?
I'll let you take that one, Joe.
Well, it's just the point that I think all the signs were in English for the most part.
Wow.
You were able to use Google Maps to be able to kind of figure it out, but we had to kind of when we're on fumes when we first got there, it was really hard to parse as far as what platform we needed to be on, as far as where exactly it was. I think we got better as the trip went on as far as to be able to understand the directions given by Google Maps if need be. All the train stations did have information booths, so we kind of took turns, but I think at the beginning it was Desmond mainly that was kind of steering the ship a bit, just trying to figure out too when we got to the airport as far as grabbing our Wi-Fi hotspot, be able to figure out where the ATM is so we could pull money out on there to be able to get some currency in our pocket if need be. Trying to figure out as far as getting some food so we could ride the train, so on and so forth. So it's just after a while it became kind of second nature, but we all took turns as far as making sure and backing each other up. Sometimes we should have been backing each other up a little bit more, because I'm guilty of during the trip of maybe getting off or telling everyone to get off one stop ahead, because I misread the directions or something.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we all did it.
So y'all got your steps in other words.
Oh, yeah. We were averaging about 15,000 steps a day, across the board. Some days it was less, some days it was quite a bit more. I think we topped out at around 26,000 steps, or a little bit more. Yeah, those first couple of days were kind of busted. Because the good thing about where we were staying, in Osaka, was we stayed in what is it, Downton Town?
No, it was God. Let me.
Well, we stayed in Joe will come back and give it to us, but we stayed in a really, really kind of bustling a bustling area of Osaka. So we were literally 2 blocks off of the main area for shopping. If you're familiar with a lot of the photos from Osaka, there's this kind of runner there's this bridge, and there's this big sign of a runner, and he's got his hands up, pointing up in the sky, and it's a really famous picture. And we were 2 blocks away from that at our hotel.
It's Downtonbury.
Yeah, Downtonbury. Yes. And so in that area was just a ton of shops. Imagine Las Vegas and Times Square kind of mushed together. And Las Vegas, I mean Fremont Street, because every side street or every alley in Japan, well, most of them, has an awning over it, and in those and underneath those awnings are shops, and they sell all types of things you could ever imagine. It was just everything is in these little shops on these side streets, from the main streets. There's maybe a couple of main streets, but there's tons of side streets, and we would just walk around and see all kinds of stuff, and we saw much more variety of people, not just Japanese people, but a variety of people. We saw, people from India. We saw people from, Australia, tons of Australians. I think it's because Japan is really close, and a lot of Australians go to Japan. A lot of Australians. Some folks from Germany, just you name it. There's a ton of people there. I was very surprised that there was that many tourists, but I shouldn't have been, because Japan's weather is a lot like the Bay Area's weather, which I thought was really kind of interesting. They're on the map. They're kind of in the same kind of they're in the same hemisphere, but they're at the same kind of longitude. So you can if you're familiar with Bay Area weather, then you're familiar with there. Some days it was warm, we could wear our shorts. Other days it rained. But the whole weather was really mild and very, very nice. But where we were staying, there were these malls, and the malls there's one big one called Parco. And in a Parco, every floor is something different. And it's like a big building, and the center is an escalator, and then on the sides are the elevators. And the elevators, they really don't want regular people to use them. They want them to be used by folks with disabilities, some kind of mobility issues or something like that. So they really don't want you to use those. They want you to use the escalators in the center of the building. So you go up in the center, and every floor is different. And every floor is not the same thing. By that I mean, when you would go into a department store in America, it's all JCPenney's or it's all Macy's. No. When you go into a Parco, it's all these different shops, vendors inside it. It's like a giant, for lack of better words, like a giant swap meet, but it's just high end. Parco's a pretty high end. It's like a Westfield, but it's just filled with all these stores inside. So we go to the Parco, and that's where we find the Nintendo store. So yeah, we that first day we went all around. We found the Nintendo store. We found a Monster Hunter store. What else did we find, Joe?
Oh, it was what? Capcom store, Ultraman, Lego, Nintendo. Yeah. So even the Tokyo one, we went inside of a Tokyo Parco, and they had a Tecmo Koei store within that. So
that's cool.
And so they had different Parcos in different areas, and when we went to Osaka, when we went to Tokyo, I mean, pretty much we found Parcos. So it's like I would consider it like Macy's or like I was going to say Gottschalk's, but that's like a local store in Fresno.
What that is.
Yeah.
I don't think they know what that is.
Yeah, but imagine a Macy's
like Neiman Marcus, Macy's, that
type
of deal.
Yeah. So multiple floors, obviously the only floors we're concerned about are the stuff with the good stores, So the Capcom and Nintendo store, and obviously there was Peanuts and all sorts of different properties there on their Pokemon Cafe, Pokemon store as well.
Yeah.
And so, obviously the prices are not going to be to where, they're going to be retail price, but it's more of a thing to see, kind of just, it almost reminded me of being at a con and seeing like a major manufacturer have like merch basically, and you're paying obviously a little bit higher prices if need be. I enjoyed the Capcom store, but I think Nintendo store, Capcom store, I kind of chose what I wanted to buy. I mostly chose smaller items. I didn't want to go for the big figures or statues at all or anything like that.
No. Didn't want the life-size Ryu. Huh?
No. We saw a life-size. What are the cats called in Monster Hunter? I took a picture of them. I can't remember.
Calicos?
Yeah, we found a. We found a life-size Palico and like a winter gear, so that was cool. We saw a life-size Ryu, so that was cool. And then we saw a human-sized Ultraman. I took a picture of him. So it was a lot of really cool stuff. There's this giant hamburger for some reason in it sitting around, and I was just like, okay. But yeah, getting back to the language differences, yeah, Joe was right. Google Translate is your friend. And the funny thing about Japanese folks is they understand that their language is hard to learn. Like they understand that Japanese is a very difficult language to learn. And so when you speak Japanese to them, they're like, oh, wow. Even if it's wrong, they're like, oh, cool. But they are more comfortable speaking to us in English because they practice English all the time. So a lot of the times we would say, konnichiwa, which is hello, or we'd say sumimasen, which is, excuse me, or we'd say, konnichiwa. No, we'd say
Arigato
Yeah,
do.
gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu, which is thank you very much. And we would say that to them, but they would always say to us first, thank you or you're welcome and stuff like that. And then we would respond in that in their language, and they would immediately, oh, and then they would say it back right back to us, and they would bow. So it was a very interesting kind of like thing. And they all carried little, and on their phones had Google Translate, and they would bust it out if they couldn't really get what we were saying, because they really wanted to try to understand what we were saying in English. Like they really wanted to try. And I was like, okay, but I'm sitting here with my Google Translate, and I would talk into the Google Translate, and it would write it out in Japanese, and so I'd show it to them, and they'd go, and then they would start speaking to me in English, and I'm like, okay, and I was like, I'm trying to tell you, like, I could try to make this work in Japanese, and they're like, no, it's okay, They really wanted to speak in English to me. So, and the trains, getting around is very simple if you realize three things. There are three different main subway lines or train lines in Japan, and they all are either color coded, they have a number code, or they have an alphabet code. And if you can just remember either two or one of those things, you probably know where you're going. You can get where you're going, because during Google, when we'd use Google Maps, they would tell you like which line and which place. And so we basically had to learn in Google how Google was displaying the information to us. And once we learned how to decipher how Google was reading it to us, we really didn't get lost that much after that. Once we realized what we were looking for, and we chose to ride the trains a lot. I mean, that was, aside from walking close places, we basically rode the trains all the time.
We did, obviously Desmond researched this, and I didn't know, but there's this company called Go that's similar to Uber or Lyft.
Oh, yeah.
And so we basically took advantage of Go because it, just like with Uber and Lyft, it is a app-based taxi. So we could call a car if need be for particular instances. Like when we got to Osaka station, we didn't try to figure out as far as what train to take to our hotel.
Nope.
We decided
done.
Yeah, it was already.
It was a wrap, sir.
It was like 9 towards 10 o'clock. When we got in off the Shinkansen, because we got on the Shinkansen at 8. And so it
was later than that. You're right.
Yeah. So it's not like we got there like right at the beginning of the evening. It was more towards the end of the night. So in fact, we had when we finally got to the hotel after we took the taxi, the taxi didn't take us down the side street because there was a ton of people in that particular area in the Dontbari district, and so it was just swarming with people. And so, I mean, I know other Go drivers, when we took the Go later on the trip in Osaka, went down those side streets, but this particular driver didn't. And when we got out of the Go, we literally went the wrong direction, and then we had to right ourselves to get to the proper direction to get to our hotel. It was like already 10:30 at night on Monday. And this trip started 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, our time. So obviously, looking at the time difference and everything, it's just,
it was a lot, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think, credit where credit's due. All three of us kind of adapted relatively quickly to the new time zone and what was going on, because we all got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's just, our bodies woke up. I think Joe woke up even earlier at some points. And so, the cool thing about it is Japan wakes up at like 10 o'clock. Like their shit opens around 10 o'clock, and then they close at around 8 o'clock. So the whole thing about Japan like staying open late and all that other stuff, that really doesn't happen. I mean, there are places that you can go that stay up all night and stuff like that if you want to go to like bars and stuff, but any of the places that we're going to go as gamers or retail places like that, no, they close at like 8 o'clock. So there's some that stay open all night, but for the most part, it goes to bed. Japan goes to sleep. So I was like,
They
okay,
get their rest. Yeah, I guess
they do.
with a 6-day work week,
Yeah,
I guess they
yeah,
kind of sort of have to. But hey,
yeah.
I do have a question about
Sure.
you stayed the hotel. Was it like a traditional hotel? Did you guys stay at one of those cubicle
Okay.
Japanese cubicles that I've heard about? So tell me a little bit about that.
So each of the hotels were Western style hotels, meaning you had your own private shower, you had your own bathroom, and you had a bed. So there
Mm,
was no sleeping on the floor on like a mat. There was no the last place we stayed in Tokyo, you could go and do an onsen, which is a ceremonial bath where you can bathe with everybody and then you kind of do your thing. I couldn't go into the onsen because I have tattoos. So it's if you have tattoos or piercings or anything like that, you cannot go into an onsen and do a traditional bath like that. So I was like,
mm,
okay. So that was just something that was traditional that I couldn't do. So I was like, that's
mm,
fine. Um, the only other thing, which is kind of crazy, is everything is considerably smaller in Japan. So the
mm.
bathroom in the first hotel was small, and the shower was basically. You ever see those walk-in tubs that quote unquote older people have, where you open up the
Yeah.
door, you walk into it, and you sit? It's kind of like that, but you can't walk into it. You have to step over the lip, and then you put
Mm,
your thing in. So because again, everything has a shower head as well, because you're supposed to rinse off your body, then you turn off the water, you soap up, and then you rinse your body off, and then stuff like that. And you can take a bath if you want to. So it's like you can do an onsen inside of your bathroom if you want. That's how the first bathroom was. Every
Yeah.
toilet had a bidet. Every seat was warmed. Every bidet stream was warm. I had never pampered my butt that much in my life. I swear to God, it was crazy. Like it was. I went into this one bathroom at the store, and the lid of the toilet lifted up automatically for me, and
mm.
I was like, "Wow, okay, they really are living in the future."
Yeah. I say even in the most like we went at some point to Mount Fuji on this trip, and even the toilet out in the middle of Timbuktu had a warm toilet seat I could sit on. So
Yeah.
That's
There was only place that I remember having a traditional squat toilet, and that was we were at a park outside of Osaka Castle, and they had a traditional squat toilet, and then they had a regular American toilet. So you can find them. They're still around, but this was like at a park, in an older, restroom. So even still, they modernized, one of the stalls, but then left the other ones because they're just like, well, we only need one, so
yeah.
you do what you need to do. So
One thing that I noticed too, and we're talking about toilets, but
I mean, it was interesting to me.
there's no toilet seat
culture
wrapper.
shock.
No toilet seat wrapper there. The
No,
thing that looks like Texas T-shirt or whatever they used to call it or
nope.
whatnot.
There's no toilet wrappers. Nope.
They have something called a toilet seat cleanser on here. So
Yep.
basically, what you do is you basically take some toilet paper out, put the cleanser on there, and you wipe the seat clean. So
Yep.
actually, I can kind of consider that as being a better way to do
Yeah.
it.
Alternative. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But one thing that
Definitely more hygienic.
but the one thing that's really kind of interesting on the side note is most Japanese bathrooms, public bathrooms or bathrooms out in the wild, they don't have any napkins or paper towels.
Paper towels.
It's
Yeah.
it's not a paper towel society. So you wash your hands, and most Japanese people have a towel or something that they carry with them in order to handkerchief in order to dry their hands. Some will have like an air blade, like a Dyson air blade that you see it sometimes at theaters, where you put your hand in and the wind blows, and blows your hands dry, but it's in this self-contained box. Like it's weird. It's like the Gom Jabbar from like, from a Dune. We're sticking your hand in a box, and it's like it's like all encompassing. Like it's just this box that you're putting your hands in trying to get it dry. And so I was very surprised that there was no like paper towels anywhere. There was two more Western style restaurants that we ate at, and they had like paper towel boxes that had paper towels in them. So they were kind of like tissues, but they were a little bit thicker, and that's what you would wipe your hands with. So the more Western style bars or Western style restaurants had them, but most people know it's a handkerchief society. So if you go to Japan, bring like a handkerchief to like wipe your hands after you dry your hands, because I constantly had to wipe them on my pants or my shirt because I didn't have anything, and I just was like, I forgot. So just something to remember.
Okay. So I want to start talking about some of the kind of the cultural landmarks that you visited. You mentioned you went to Mount Fuji.
Yes.
What different places of cultural interest impressed you, or you found really exciting or fun or pretty cool to check out?
Well, I want to get these two out of the way, and then I'll let Joe go. We did go to Disney Sea, which is not. It's a Disney park, so it's not cultural or anything like that. It's just a different version of a Disney park. This one was a nautical themed. So you had your Little Mermaid, you had your gondolas in Venice. So you had a volcano and Aladdin for some reason, and that was a really nice day that we spent at Disney Sea. And then we went to Universal Studios Osaka. And the reason why we went there was because we wanted to go to the Super Nintendo World, because Paul and I had gone to the one in LA, and the one in Osaka is supposed to be twice as big. The only problem is it's a premium attraction. So either you have to get there super early and just run in until they reach capacity, or you get there later like we did, and you have to enter into a lottery. And then when you enter into the lottery, you could possibly win a ticket to go inside. Yeah, the last thing you can
How early do you have to be to guarantee entrance?
They actually, and what's really sad is it opens at 10 o'clock, and you can buy a ticket that gets you entrance an hour earlier for like an extra $60 or like $50, and that'll get you in earlier at 9 o'clock, and then you can just go directly into it, and then there you go. That's what people generally do. I, on the other hand, was thinking, you know what? It's probably not going to be that busy. I've done me, because it wasn't super busy in LA when we went to there. Like, we just walked right in and it was great. So I'm thinking, okay, it's been around for a while. Maybe it's not so big. No, it was still. And then the other way we could have got in is they give you, you could buy your way in basically. And it was $168 per ticket. That's American, by the way, to go there, to go into it. And I was like, I'm not spending $168. I'll just come back. So that was the one kind of thing that really disappointed me about the trip, was I wasn't able to go in there. However, the next time that we go, the Donkey Kong village, or Donkey Kong Country, that part of the park will be open. So they're opening up another Nintendo section that's attached to the Mario world, but it's all Donkey Kong, and that should be open by the time that we go back. So I just chalked it up to, like, hey, you live and you learn. Well, it's another reason to come back, and left it at that. Also tried to get into the Monster Hunter virtual thing for the 30th anniversary. 20th anniversary, but we weren't able to get into that as well. So we basically just walked around, looked at stuff and had Monster Hunter food, and it was great. Like, I had a pretty good time at both of the parks. But I got to see
a water world attraction. That wonderful movie from Kevin Costner.
Yeah, we saw the water world in Japanese with no subtitles. It was great. Um, but yeah,
Did you
those are
guys
the perks.
did you guys get to go to a shrine or
Yeah,
anything like that?
I'll let Joe take over now. So Joe, where else did we go?
Well, we went to Osaka Castle, as mentioned. So it was kind of we're debating on about what to do on Friday in Osaka, and we decided to go ahead and go to Osaka Castle, which is kind of nearby on there. And so we took a go car over there, and pretty much wasn't prepared for all of the walking that we had to do on there. Osaka Castle in and of itself by itself, 9 stories. So, and we had to get a ticket, wait in line to get in. And a lot of great history there, as far as this castle has been there for quite a bit of years. I think the main focus of the exhibit inside the castle had to do with the fact of the falling of the Osaka Castle in the 16th century on there, and talked about a lot about the wars around the area and so on and so forth, and talked about the different factions and whatnot. And you got to see at the top, you're able to go and get a nice city view of Osaka itself on there. And
Yep.
of course, had all sorts of wonderful gashpon and other assorted items from the shop and whatnot that you could buy if need
Yeah.
be. So
Yeah, the cool thing about Osaka Castle is the one that stands there now is they rebuilt it because, as Joe was saying, it was sacked in the 1600s and they basically destroyed it, and it was rebuilt bigger than it was, and this is that castle. So they had mock-ups of the original castles, and then they had the new castle, and you could see both of them side by side, and the newer castle is much bigger, much bigger.
Okay.
yeah. So we went there. I think a lot of our shrines, we went to Kyoto as well. So we took on Saturday a express train out to Kyoto, and then we went ahead and got to see a number of different shrines. We went to the bamboo forest. There was a shrine connected to the bamboo forest that we went to, and then what's the name of the shrine that we went to with the 1,000 gates?
The 1,000 torii gates. So it's a very popular spot, and there's all these red torii gates. You've probably seen it on like brochures and stuff. It's just like thousands of torii gates, and we got there at dusk. So it's really beautiful at dusk, but it was getting cold, and there's this. So the 1,000 gates, torii gates, are these giant, red gates, and you walk in this winding road all the way to the top to the shrine. And at the top, so the experience is supposed to be reminiscent or supposed to represent your ascension from the earthly plane to the heavenly plane, and that's your journey through these gates to get up there. The problem was it was getting dark, it was getting cold, and we didn't want to walk a couple thousand steps to get to the top. So we saw it at the beginning, took a whole bunch of pictures, and then left. So, but yeah, Kyoto is known as for having some of the nicest and most shrines in Japan. So we definitely wanted to see those two shrines. We saw two main shrines while we were in Kyoto, so it was really nice.
When you went to Fuji, did you see the entrance to the Death Forest?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
We didn't go.
They don't let you in there.
No. We didn't go
I think
anywhere
there's
near it.
Okay.
No.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, when we went to Mount Fuji, it was raining, unfortunately. So it was really weird because like we went on a Wednesday, but the Tuesday, it was sunny and clear, and the tour guide was like, "Yeah, yesterday it was beautiful," And we're like, "Oh," she's like, "So all you have to do now is just imagine Mount Fuji because you've seen it in a picture. So just imagine Mount Fuji." She made me laugh. I loved her. She was like, she had me rolling, just like imagine Mount Fuji because we'd stop someplace, and there was a shrine, and the first place we stopped was a shrine, and we walked over, and she's just like, yeah, over there would be Mount Fuji. So just imagine it's there. So because of the cloud cover.
The cloud cover.
So I got to see the left side of Mount Fuji. So I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, the whole thing about the Mount Fuji trip was a little bit different because we didn't take trains this time. We took a guided tour bus, and so it was a little bit different. We had scrambling to try to find the tour bus in the morning.
Yep.
I had to scramble to find the bathroom too, because it's like, when you get there was no bathroom in the actual bus itself, and so I had to try to like find a place to go take a leak before I got onto the bus. And like I walked into a school, and the guy said, "No, this is a school," So I had to find some place to.
Chris Hansen met you at the door.
Yep. He's like, "Sorry, sir."
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Take a
and
seat.
especially since it was raining, it was cold. I was just like, I was in the midst, at least in the morning. I was like kind of tired, and
Yeah. Yeah, that was yeah.
The Mount Fuji tour became the ice cream tour for me because I wound up buying like soft serve ice cream like everywhere I went. So
this man had so much soft serve ice cream on this trip to Japan, not just for Mount Fuji, although Mount Fuji was the day he went crazy. But I tell you though, okay, in video games you have that meter, that hunger meter, and then you start to like get sluggish. Every time that man put one of them damn soft serves, regardless if it was from an actual stand and someone gave it to him or it was from like a vending machine, this man perked up after every one of them. After every one of them, he got more and more. He got more and more.
Like Pac-Man eating a power pill.
Yep, every time. And then towards the end, oh yeah, Joe was on one. He was like, "I'm on a sugar high." Woo!
Okay, so you brought up food. I have got a couple of food questions. So I know just because I watch a lot of anime, not because I've experienced it myself, the kind of like the legendary cuisine that is available in Japanese mini marts. Were you able to sample any of that during your trip?
Go on, Joe. This is your segment, Joe.
Oh, that's your segment too. So,
no, sir, you went crazy.
Like the fried chicken, like the fried chicken kagare. Did y'all try some of that? Get into that shrimp. Let me hear it.
We tried all of the chicken from all the convenies. That's what they're called, Joe. Joe informed me that I was not calling them the right name. They're called convenies.
Yeah.
So there's three main ones: 7-Eleven, Lawson's, and Family Mart, and they all offer pretty much the same thing, but their chicken is all different. And so we had the chicken from all of the marts. They have
Fam Chicky, and then I forgot what they call the 7-Eleven.
I don't know.
Chicken, yeah.
11 chickies, and then we had the Lawson chickie, and so we had all that, and then we had the rice balls that it's like rice packed around something like one time.
Seaweed.
Yeah, some of them had seaweed, some didn't. Some of them it was like barley. It was like a barley rice ball with like tuna in the center, mayo and chicken, spicy tuna and fish eggs. So you could find all different types of stuff wrapped in a rice ball. So those are really good. And they're sandwiches. So you have to understand, in Japan, all this food is delivered in the morning, every morning, fresh. So people will literally get their food there before they go to work because it's a quick and easy stop. And, they get rid of them at the end of the day. And so every one of those food items is delivered fresh daily. So it's pretty crazy. The amount of like really good food. I got some dipping ramen, that I ate. With some buckwheat noodles and some dipping sauce. I ate that on the way when we were going over to Universal Studios on the train. It was just really good stuff. Really good stuff. Joe went crazy.
Is any of it freshly prepared?
That's what I mean. Like it's fresh.
No, but I mean like you actually see them cook it.
Oh no. It's all delivered already packaged.
Not like a street vendor. No, it's not like street food then.
No. Although we did we did go to a couple of places, that did do street food that they cooked in front of you. But at the 7-Elevens and the convenies, no, it's all already prepackaged and stuff. So Joe, you can talk about the chocolate thunder that you invested in?
Well, no, there's a
No, no, no.
particular.
I talk
I
about
don't
it.
want to mention that.
No, Black Thunder is a
Black Thunder.
particular.
Damn.
Black Thunder is a candy bar in Japan that's quite popular, and
Oh my
so
gosh.
Black Thunder basically
Thunder.
is a.
I'm seeing some racial overtones in the mascot if that thing has one.
No, there's no
No,
mascot.
Is Mr. Popo the mascot? Mr. Popo?
It's a chocolate cookie bar, kind of similar to a whatchamacallit, but it's like
It comes in so many different forms, though. It's literally the same thing in like 4 or 5, like 5 or 6 different forms. You got the frozen one. You got the one that's on top of a cookie. You got the one that's just a single one. You got the one that's mixed with caramel, but it's all the same kind of thing. But everything has some little difference. And Joe tried all of them.
Oh yeah, they had different varieties, like the butter Black Thunder, Butter Thunder, what you want to call it,
my Lord.
Caramel
What
Thunder.
would you do for a Black Thunder?
Yep.
Black Thunder, according to Wikipedia, is a bar of rice puffs covered in chocolate with cocoa-covered biscuits. So
That does sound good though.
It was I can't lie. I cannot lie. I can't front. It was good. And Joe almost every night had some kind of frozen treat wrapped in like, what was it wrapped in? What was that stuff? It was like a crispy crackly thing. The vanilla ice cream that you got me hooked on to. The big pusher. It was like this big brick. It was like a brick.
waffle brick.
Yeah, it was like a waffle. God, what is it? It's like you've had them before. They have them in America, but it's like it looks like a honeycomb almost, but it's like shaped like a giant square, and it's got
It's a waffle. It's basically just a big waffle. It's moringa jumbo monica is what it's called. I'm looking.
See, he remembers it. He loves it.
So it's like a waffle cone. It's like if you got like
but it's
an
not in a
ice
cone though.
It's in a big bar like it's like if someone took an Eggo, filled it with ice cream and chocolate fudge, and basically had it in a big package. So.
But it's crispier than an Eggo. It really tastes like those. It tastes like those.
It's like an ice cream cone.
Yeah, like the cones. It literally is like if you it's vanilla ice cream and chocolate surrounded by an ice cream cone. There you go. And then
Is this frozen?
Yeah,
It's frozen.
It would snap when you eat it, when you crunch it.
I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you could look at it, Kev, just to see.
Okay.
It was crazy. So that was the thing that we ate a lot of.
I got 2 every night. I just said screw it.
Yeah, Joe, because
I'm going back to my room. I'm not having prostitutes come in my hotel room. I'm not
so
doing anything decadent. I am eating ice cream.
Yeah,
this is my vice. Huh?
Yep. So Paul and I had our own room, and Joe had his own room at both of the places. So Joe would just go in there, and we wouldn't see him. So he was probably having a convenience store orgy, in there, eating all kinds of shit. And in Japan, they offer you a ton of free stuff in your hotel. Like every day they would give us, if we asked, a toothbrush and toothpaste every day for free. They would just give it to you if you wanted it. They give you free water. They give you free ice cream cones. Free udon. Free soft serve ice cream. It was crazy. It was like.
Yeah, the Osaka hotel had free ice cream and free beer, along with free Coke on there. So you're able to, like, in the lobby of the hotel, no, not cocaine, but both hotels, both in Osaka and Tokyo, had a Coca-Cola machine. Yeah, and the Tokyo one had a freestyle machine, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
and they had and you could get ramen bowls.
bowls
in the evening.
Yeah.
It was crazy,
And both had ice cream. The Osaka one had the thing where you had to scoop it like actual ice cream, like if you were getting ice cream from ice cream parlor. The one in Tokyo had basically a chest full of like frozen ice cream delights on there. You could go grab. So
I have to say, if you folks from Japan are listening, Joe got his money's worth. I'll tell you that much.
No trips to. You mentioned restaurants. And I'll only ask a couple more food questions. But you mentioned restaurants. Did you guys go to any bars, hostess bars,
Nope,
whatever?
we didn't go to any of the hostess bars. A lot of the places that we went to were, we went to a dipping ramen. So dipping ramen basically is you get a bowl of noodles and you have a sauce onto the side, and then you basically take a chunk of it and you dip it in and then you eat it. A lot of small bowls. We went to a couple of sushi restaurants with the sushi that went around. We went to Donberry place, which was very interesting. It was in Osaka, and it was they had this. You could get all this different types of stuff. So donburi is a rice bowl with like meat and stuff on top of it. But they gave me a raw egg, and you're supposed to take the egg. You make a little hole in the center. You drop the egg in it, and you mix it all together, and that's how you eat it. It was fantastic. So that was a couple places that I liked. Where was a couple places that you liked, Joe?
As far as what food, I mean,
Yeah.
that one place we ate at across the street from the hotel in Osaka, the noted Osaka fucking street food.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That guy was cool. Like he was.
Yeah, this guy is like
Hip-hop
he's listening
Japanese
to listen to Jurassic 5 and like old school hip hop, sitting there on a hot plate, sitting there cooking yakisoba and other delights on here.
He was great. Like it was great because it looked like he had his parents working there. It was like this old guy, this old woman working. Like, oh, it's a family business. That's nice. So he was working, and
Mom and Dad grooving to Eric B and Rakim. Huh?
He was. But it was funny because he had these long braids and shit, and I was like, oh, okay, you feeling it? All right. Oh, and it was a standing restaurant, no seats, and I was like, there was a few standing restaurants, and I was like, wow, y'all want us to stand? Okay. So, went to a yakitori place with they had the skewers, the chicken skewers. Went to a couple places like that. That was great. Paul got his fill of chicken livers, which is gross if you ask me. But yeah, any other places you like, Joe?
We had a couple of restaurants we had pancakes at. One was like kind of based in Brooklyn, but they had one particular outlet in Japan. They had a couple of locations in Japan, but Desmond had was it bacon or what kind of waffle did you have?
I don't know. I had a bunch of different types of waffles. I can't remember what that was.
Yeah, I think it was. God, I'm trying to remember what type of waffle it was, but a nice good stack.
Oh, no! It was a cheese waffle.
Cheese waffle. Okay.
Yeah, it was a cheese waffle, and it was one of the best things I'd ever had. It was a savory waffle that they made with cheese, and I was like, wow, this is great.
And chicken, right? You had some fried chicken.
And some fried chicken. I was like, wow. And it's not Southern fried chicken, but you could see where they were going with it to try to make it. But no, it was a little bit different. Oh, and then Joe went to a McDonald's, so that was good.
I've heard the Japanese McDonald's are very different than what's here. What were the differences that you guys noticed?
Well, I didn't have it. Joe.
Oh, you didn't have it? Okay.
Joe went out because Joe would go out in the morning and do stuff, and then he would text us and be like, "Hey, I'm here if you want to meet me." And Paul went someplace else, and so I went to meet him, and he lured me with churros. So my thing was I was eating a lot of churros everywhere I went because there was churros everywhere. So there was
churros in Japan.
Churros, and so Taco Bell had churros. This Japanese Taco Bell had churros, and I was like, all right, Churritos. So I go to meet him, and it's like right next to this, McDonald's, and he had a samurai. Was it Samurai Big Mac? Was that what you had?
A Samurai Mac, yeah.
Samurai Mac. So
it was like basically a Big Mac, but with soy sauce instead of like Thousand Island, basically. No lettuce, thank God. It was more like a double quarter pounder.
I thought you had the one that had egg on it. They put eggs on everything in Japan, by the way.
Yeah, no, I didn't have the Sakura. They had a special with the Sakura. I kind of wish in a way. So I always wanted to maybe grab an egg from Egg McMuffin or something, throw it on a burger. I think that would be tasty. But
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I did have an egg on a burger from this other chain on here, which I'm trying to remember the name of, but it's escaping me right now on here, but basically it was a teriyaki burger with like not a raw egg, but like with a poached egg on it.
Poached egg.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we went to a baseball game as well while we were there. If you're not sure, if you don't know, Joe is an avid baseball fan, and he wanted to go to a Japanese baseball game. And I'm like, okay. So the two of us went. Paul wasn't feeling well, so he stayed back at the hotel. But I think he was just run down. But because we stayed in the streets most of the days. But anyway, we went to the baseball game, and the food there was so different. Like they had like bento boxes, and they had donburi, and they had just different. It was just different. It was just I'm sitting there with chopsticks, eating a rice bowl, watching like strikes being thrown. I'm just like, okay, it was just a very it was like so like American, but the subtle differences were just crazy. Was just crazy about it, and just I had fried chicken. I had fried chicken at a baseball game, and I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Were you guys able to check out the wrestling match?
No, we did not go to the wrestling match. We had to tap out for that. We just basically were just ready to chill, get something to eat for our last day in Tokyo. I do believe if we ever go back to Tokyo, which we probably will, and we do a wrestling thing, it's got to be earlier. It's got to be earlier. I think the one thing that I learned from this trip is you gotta have one day at the beginning to kind of get acclimated, and then you need one day at the end to kind of like, I don't say deacclimate yourself, but you just kind of have to be able to calm yourself down and chill out, and start to reflect on it and get your shit together. Because towards the end there, it really felt like,
we could have still went. It's just the point.
No, I'm talking about myself. Talking about myself. Yes, we definitely could have went. But I don't think that if I'd have went, I don't think I would have enjoyed it that much because I was too tired. I would have been like, oh, that's cool. But I don't think I would have got, the most out of it because it was the last thing that we were doing, So that's just my reflection on the trip, given all the things that we had did. And one thing that's weird is because of the time change, everything seemed like it was moving faster for me. Like it just seemed like, because you're 16 hours ahead, everything seemed to move faster. It just like as we were doing stuff and the days would go by, it just because we technically are, because like I would talk to people and it's like yesterday. So it just everything felt like it was moving faster while we were in Japan, but it technically wasn't. You know what I mean? So it was just this weird kind of like mind thing that you go through when you're when you have a time difference that wide.
That significant.
Yeah, because when I was in England a couple years ago, I didn't feel that at all. But I don't know, but in Japan, I really felt it like hardcore because I was just like, what? It's already Thursday or what? It's already Monday? What? So yeah, that was something that I noticed.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a good place where we can pivot our discussion toward gaming and some of the gaming things that you guys saw. So my first question is going to be, did you guys get a chance to go to a Japanese arcade?
All right, Joe.
We went to Taito Station, but we never really kind of found a place with more of a regular arcade aspect on there, meaning that we didn't find like. So I remember when I went to Japan 20 years ago, the arcades in Akihabara were more like inclined to have less redemption machines, less like. As far as claw machines, and it was more oriented towards actual like fighting games, so on and so forth. So I could have done some more research, especially in Tokyo or in Osaka, to find an arcade. But I was more inclined to just see what's in front of us and kind of go from there, because we went to both Den Town in Osaka and Akihabara multiple times in Tokyo, and so. From what I saw Street Fighter 6 at one Taito station on a particular floor, but I was actually on the hunt for Virtua Fighter 3 TB. They re-released that game in Japanese arcades, and that was one of the games I really wanted to check out to see, and I did not see it at all. So,
Yeah.
so I'm more feel like, if I made it more of a focus, I would have been able to find one if need be, but I was more inclined to, look at games for purchase versus playing games per se. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing was we were on a hunt for purchasing games.
Hmm. So that's going to, my next question regarding that is going to be like here in America, the secondary market is kind of crazy. It's like everything is expensive. You walk into a Blue Shell and they want, $300 for, Perfect Dark N64 or something like that. So what is the secondary market for, say, retro games? I'm talking like, going back to, say, the Sega Saturn, maybe even the 16-bit systems. In the places that you went, did you see those same huge prices, or did it vary from shop to shop?
So I'm going to say something real quick, and I'm turning over to Joe because Joe knows much more about this, and he did a lot more retro shopping than I did. So I'm not really a retro gamer per se, and I don't collect for those old systems. I think the ones that I collect for are basically the Switch and the PS5, but more so the Switch. So because the Switch is a current console, the secondary market was great for me. Like I found copies that were considerably less that than in America, number one, and even things that were new were considerably cheaper than they are in America. So for me as a Switch collector, I made it like a bandit. So I was very happy with my purchases, and I only got one game that I thought had English that didn't, and I spent like $6 on that one. So for me, as a new game collector, I was fine. Now I know Joe though has a bit different, possibly different thoughts about retro gaming. So I'll let Joe take over.
well, for me, I wasn't shopping a lot of retro for myself. I would only find if something kind of was something that would be nice to have and was reasonably cheap would be something I would grab on here. My main collection kind of tendencies is looking at PS4 games, PS5 games, and so we found quite a number of different places. I know Osaka, we were looking at like places like, the noted Super Potato and Retro Game Camp and so on and so forth. Super Potato was kind of crazy, with
Yeah.
the amount of prices. And, I'm not looking to buy PS4 games, PS5 games there, even though they did have them and they had them for a particular price. And it's like, a lot of the retro stuff was there too, and unfortunately Super Potato tends to get a lot of foreigners in there. And so
And they know.
they
Hmm.
know, yeah, they're priced appropriately. So, I know other shops like Suragaya is more reasonable, but we found like even like some you would consider like retail outlets like Best Buy. It'd be the comparable Best Buy of Japan. Like I think what was that one retailer Des that had like big
The cameras, Abi,
Yodobashi camera was in
yeah,
Japan, but was
yeah,
in Tokyo, but
Tokyo,
in Osaka,
Tokyo.
we wound up the ramen restaurant was on the ninth floor of this particular big Best Buy. Like I think it's Laox, I think, if I'm
Yeah, I
not,
think you're right.
yeah. So, but it's just funny to look at like even at these retail places like were set up kind of like Best Buys that they had decent prices. But we found like some other chain stores. This one particular chain I never heard of prior to going to Japan on this trip called Gio that I tend to gravitate towards because it was a place similar to a GameStop, but they also rented movies out there, rented comics and so on and so forth. But they had a good selection of cheap used games on here that both me and Desmond kind of got onto the mix at least a little.
Oh, and what is Shubaraya? What was the other one? Suragaya was the other one that we kind of gravitated towards because the places that are really in the know, like the Super Potatoes, like the Manadrake, because I was looking for toys. I bought a ton of Ultraman stuff, but they know their prices and they know that they're being featured in all these like Toy Hunters or Retro Game Hunter stuff, so they will mark that stuff up, and it's like the further you go away from Akihabara or away from Dotonbori and like Osaka, you'll start to find stuff that's a little bit cheaper. So all the things that we watched on YouTube about these hunters, I mean, it's true. If you go to Akihabara, expect to pay a little bit more if you go to these shops. And the only saving graces, in my opinion, was the Gyo that we found, and then some of the book offs away from the main areas were pretty good as well.
Book offs and hard offs, yeah.
Yeah, book offs and hard offs are pretty good as well. So although I was very surprised because book off is just for me, to be completely honest, book off and hard off, it's just a higher grade Goodwill. I mean, to be completely honest with you, it's literally like Goodwill. It's just better staffed and has better stuff. And that's the only difference. I was seriously though, I was very surprised by it. I was like, oh wow, like because the way the folks talk about it, it's like, oh, it's like, but no, it's literally like a Goodwill. So, but you could definitely find some really good stuff there. But again, I was just pretty shocked at just the amount of stuff people had, and the amount of retro games they had, and how they were displayed. Everything was displayed so nicely. It killed me, Kev. Like, it's just everything is nicely wrapped. It looks clean. It's just a whole different way of displaying the stuff. The cases are all nice.
So was anything like behind locked glass, or was it easily accessible?
No. All the super expensive stuff, or the stuff that they knew was going to carry a price, was behind glass. Okay. And they were more than willing to open it for you and stand there, and translate with you to try to get a sale. No, they were very they knew what was worth. They knew the worth of the games. So
it's almost like going into these places kind of overwhelming, just kind of absorb, because it's not like, I walk into a GameStop or even a local shop like Blue Shell. They're not going to have the selection that these places have. So
I was blown away, literally blown away about some of the stuff that I saw.
I know we went on the hunt, especially in Osaka, because we got into a Go taxi and we literally drove, I think, across town. It was like, I think the ride was like, after we left Osaka Castle, it was like, I think during rush hour, it was like 50 minutes in a damn taxi to a couple of hard off locations.
So, because it was during rush hour traffic. So you have to understand Joe and I's relationship. So it's very easy to go, Joe, and so we'll be sitting somewhere, and I'll look at him and I'll be like, after this we could go to a hard off, right? And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we could go, right? He's like, well, do you want to go? And I'm like, do you want to go? And he's like, well, I could go. And I'm like, I know you could go, but do you want to go? And he's like, I mean, yeah. He's like, he's always the person that doesn't want to pull the trigger. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And he's like, yes.
You're fine to see, man. But
he is down to rise. You have to understand, Joe is down. He's always down, but he doesn't want to be the one to do it because he doesn't want to come off looking like a fiend, right? So, because I'm like, we can go. It's fine.
I think one of our last nights in Osaka, I think we were at that ramen restaurant. Paul was getting frustrated with everything, and it was like already like 10 or 11. And he walked back to the hotel. We're at that Japanese comparable to a Best Buy. We're up there on the floor and looking at games, and we're there, because every Japanese retailer, once it gets ready to close, they play the
old egg sign, like
yes,
all acquaintance be.
Oh, really?
They play that. Every store plays that when it's time for you to get out. It was killer. I was like, wow, like that's what they do.
Yeah,
crazy.
So yeah, we went game shopping after we ate ramen, and literally it was like, okay, we're already decimated, tired, and it's like I already knew that Gyo opened until 2:00 in the morning, and so I said, let's walk to Gyo, let's go. And I think we took a go to the Gyo, and then we took a go back afterwards. So.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. Like we'd get that second win, boy. We would jump in a go cab, and we would be gone. We were like up in the sticks in one place when we were in Osaka. Seriously, it was like closest at 8, Joe. So we get there, and Joe's shopping around, and I'm shopping around, and I'm like, okay, sir, okay, if we leave now, you're gonna have like 20 minutes in this next store. Do you want to go? And he's like, okay, let's go. So he'd pay for his stuff. I'd get us a go. We'd hop in the car. We were the next place. We'd hop out. And then that one was the crazy one in Osaka, because we were we had went to the one book off. Then we went to the other book off and closed that one out. They literally threw us out. Hard off. They closed us out. And I was getting ready to get another go taxi. And down the street, Joe's keen eye was like, ooh, I see a video store over there. I think there's some stuff over there.
There was a book off. There was a book off next door.
He was like, I think it's over there. I think it's still open. And I'm like, no, Joe, we got to go. I was like, but I think it's still open. And I'm like, no, Joe, we got to go. So I put in that cab, and I was like, you can take one back yourself, but I'm going back now. I'm done. And he said, okay. Hopped in the cab and drove back.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
In for a penny, in for a pound, yeah.
He certainly was, sir. And the piece de resistance, and I'm going to put you on blast, Joe. I love you, but I'm going to put you on blast. I have to. Because you're going to put me on blast, too. I know you are. So we go to this Gyo that's open 24 hours, right? And we're sitting there, and I'm looking through the Switch games, and he's looking through all the other games. And he says to me, Des, there's this console over there, and it's calling my soul, sir. It's calling me. It's calling my soul. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go look at it. So I go up and look at it, and I look at it, and I swear to God, it was singing. And I was like, oh. Ooh. So I look over at Joe, and I'm like, I saw it. I saw it. He's like, yeah, you look so nice. And I'm like, are you going to get it? He's like, I don't know. What was it, Joe?
It was a Dragon Quest 11 PS4 limited edition. So
yeah. So he saw it.
19,000 yen, which basically in good old. We haven't really talked about the yen to dollar translation, but yeah, it was for us. Yeah, it wound up being, I think, according to everything all said and done, would have been like $135 or $140. So
out the door. Right. So it's really good deal, really good price. He left it there. And I was like, oh, okay.
I left it because I didn't know if it would fit, with everything I had.
Okay. So I think this was on a Tuesday, right? Tuesday.
It was,
it was Tuesday in Tokyo.
I think it was on a Thursday, Thursday.
No, because I remember you hemmed and hawed for at least 24 hours before he actually went back and bought it. He went back.
No, it was on a Thursday, because I remember on Friday I was ordering a piece of luggage because I won.
Yes,
we haven't talked about it, but basically
I wasn't going to tell you.
I was on the hunt for some games, and I decided, F it, I'm going to order this stuff off Amazon Japan. So I ordered some games off Amazon Japan. My first order was delivered to a Lawson, so I picked it up at a Lawson's, for God's sake. So And then I asked the hotel staff at the hotel that we're staying in Tokyo, hey, would you guys be okay if we have some packages delivered? And so Desmond had me order a bunch of Switch games to pay him back for various travel and whatnot, and I ordered him some Switch games, and the hotel.
You ordered yourself some games too. Don't lie.
There were some games in there for the mix. Yes, of course. Yes. But then it's like I started. Okay, guess what I'm gonna get from Amazon? I don't have to go out and buy a piece of luggage from some touristy place in the place that we're staying at. I just said, screw it, I'm gonna order a piece of luggage off of Amazon Japan. I ordered this nice additional piece of luggage for like $27. Yeah, and got that.
It was actually pretty good though. Like if I had known it was $27, I probably would have bought one. To God's honest truth, I probably would have bought one because he got a damn good piece of luggage for the price he paid. I didn't realize he had paid that much, so I was very like, wow, that's a good price. But yeah, so I think he pissed off the people downstairs because they had the hardest time trying to find his shit, because they would be declined. They didn't know where it was.
I should just have everything delivered to Lawson.
You really should have. You really should have, because the last thing that we ordered, it was an Ultraman figure that I couldn't find. I couldn't find it, and so if I found it online, Japanese Amazon, and Joe already had everything set up. So I said, "Will you order this for me, and I'll pay you back for it?" So, okay. So we ordered it, and it said that it had been delivered, and then Joe showed me, damn, it was refused at the location.
At the hotel, yeah.
At the hotel, they sent that shit back. They're like, no. I was like, what?
Well, it's because they didn't have me in the room. They had a mix-up, and so
for whatever reason, they didn't put Joe in his own room. They put Paul's name on the second room and my name on the first room. So Joe was just this person that was there because they couldn't find his name, they just got rid of it, which is weird because they already accepted packages for him twice already. So it didn't.
And then whatever happened with the Ultraman, we didn't even want to talk the front.
Yeah, I was just like, whatever. I'm not gonna worry about it. But yeah, so Joe's main concern about buying the PlayStation was how to get it back. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, sir, if you buy it, we'll get it back for you. Don't worry, And he just was going on about it. I was like, Joe, this is your thing. You love Dragon Quest. Like, you can look at it and it reminds you of this, it reminds you of that. And he's just like, okay, I'm gonna go get it. Let's go. And I'm like, no, young squire. This is your own journey. You must do one. I sent that man into the night to buy this. And he did. He did. When he got back, I praised him. I gave him some cookies. He was happy.
It was like in the afternoon. It was like on a Sunday, and I had to fight through this damn shopping mall that we went to a Sanrio store, and literally that whole shopping area was just elbow to elbow.
Yeah, because we were in Harajuku. Like we were we were on the Harajuku like strip. So
yeah,
so it was like all these young anime girls and their dads like running around trying to buy like ripped t-shirts and chains. It was just at a Sanrio store, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So
okay. All right. So let me ask you, from if I guess this would be more for Joe, since Des, you don't really collect for older stuff. What was the one kind of like the holy grail that had money not been an object you would have picked up that you saw with regards to some of the retro stuff you saw?
I was, me, I kind of look more towards bargains if need be, but I'm looking at all these Neo Geo games and stuff. It's like I had my eye on a couple of Game Boy Advance games I wanted to get, like Eternal Blue, I think, but I didn't find them. But I wanted to stay reasonable on this thing. I wasn't looking to spend hundreds of dollars on it.
No, but I mean, if money was no object, and if there is any older game that you want, or maybe you had and you have sold it off in years prior that you would love to have back in your collection, did you see it there, and what was it, and how much were they asking? and it would be like, okay, money's not an object. I want this in my collection right now. What
I
was
would, I never bought for whatever reason back in the day. I wanted to always get the Saturn version, the Street Fighter Zero 3 for the Saturn. And, I saw it at a particular, I think it wasn't a Super Potato. I think it was at a Mandrake. But I saw it and it was like comparable to, I think, about 88,000 yen, which would have been put at about $650 US. And like, yeah, no, I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Yeah.
Another game that I sold, this game called Psychic Killer Teramaru that I had for the Saturn. It kind of reminded me of a I don't know if you ever played Hagane on the Super Nintendo or not, but it kind of reminded me of that game a little bit, and it's one game that was kind of rare that I sold back in the day. I sold on eBay, I think, for like $300 on here, and I saw it at a Mandrake, and I saw it at a couple places actually. I saw it at Super Potato as well, but in the dollar exchange, it was going for like around between $1,200 and $1,500. So, in fact, I still think I might have a ripped, burned CD of that game somewhere. So,
yeah.
So I burned it before I sold it because I modded my Saturn to play CDR. So, so.
All right. Well, I got one more question with regards to the retro collecting. I've never been to Japan. I would love to go. For me, I mean, yeah, I would definitely want to check out some of the cultural sites, but I have to be honest for myself. With myself, the primary reason I want to go would be to try and get some of the stuff that I lost out of my Saturn collection. So let me ask you this: when you factor in the cost of the flight, cost of hotels, meals, and all that good stuff. And I know this all depends on what it is that you're looking for. So I get all that. Would someone making a trip to Japan specifically for retro gaming acquisitions, do you think it's a good place, good way to go if you're willing to travel beyond the tourist trappy areas like Super Potato, or in the long run, are you saving more money just buying what you want off of eBay? In your opinion?
In my opinion, I think number one, it depends on how you want to spend your time. It will always be easier to go to eBay and buy that stuff, and if you do not want to deal with, another country, if you don't want to deal with travel, if you don't want to deal with any of that stuff, then yeah, it's not worth it. But if you have an adventurer's spirit and you want to go out and experience this stuff, then I'd say it's definitely worth it. There are tons of people that go to Japan every day to do this, to go and look for gaming. The flight itself was not that expensive. You can go on and off time if you want. Japan is very, very foreigner friendly right now in certain areas. Like there are some weird things that are happening in Kyoto that is tourist specific. So with regards to how tourists are being treated and how tourists are treating folks in Kyoto, but that's a separate thing. But in like Tokyo or Osaka or even the outskirts around those areas, I think it's worth it because you're going to end up having a fantastic time just seeing this stuff and getting the stuff that you want if you're willing to take the time to do it. Again, the hotels, depending on where you stay, are not that expensive. The flight there is not that expensive, depending on when you go. The flight there and back, it was 12 and a half hours there, 9.5 hours back because it was the tailwind was pushing us. So we actually got back faster. you get that day back when you leave, because we basically arrived earlier before we arrived before we left on the same day. So, um, um, and if you don't mind it, like, it's really inexpensive to rent a car. They do drive on the left side, so it's like England. So, if you're okay with driving, rent a car and just drive out to these places that are a little bit outside of the city, and you'll be amazed at what you'll be able to find. So I think it's definitely worth it if you are a serious retro game collector and you don't mind, going through customs, you don't mind getting a passport or any of that other stuff. I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
I
Joe?
mean, the stuff I picked up, I mean, it's stuff I wasn't on my radar, but as soon as I saw what was available and how cheap it was, I was just like, okay, yeah, sure. I found like stuff I wasn't on the hunt for, like I found like a special edition of Bloodborne. I don't have a physical copy of Bloodborne for PS4, so it's like I saw it had an art book and a soundtrack. It's like, okay, I'll grab that. It's like 1,100 yen. Okay, I will take it.
But Joe, to be completely honest, Joe is that guy that looks for deals. Like, I was seeing some of the stuff that he was buying, and it was technically pennies on the dollar. Like, he was spending, like, he would buy a game and it'd be like $1, or he'd buy a game and it'd be like maybe $5. If you're that kind of shopper and you're willing to, comb the racks for stuff and you get enjoyment out of that, Japan will never let you down, because you can find these hidden gems that you're like, oh wow, I haven't seen that before. Or, oh wow, that's a really cool game, and you can get them for pennies on the dollar. It's just the things that are limited or really sought after. Those are the ones you're going to pay a pretty penny for, but you do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So unobtainium is unobtainium regardless of where you go.
If you get the
thing.
money, it's not like you're going to walk and find a Psychic Killer Terramaro for 200 yen. I mean, if it's rare, it's
No, but I mean, if you go in looking to get a deal on, say, Radiant Silver Gun, it's just no matter where you are,
Nope.
whether you're on the outskirts,
No,
or whether you're in Super Potato, you're just not going to find it because everybody knows how much it's worth, right?
Nope, not necessarily. Not necessarily, because you can go to the ones that are in the because not all of the retro games, not all of the book offs, not all of the Subarayas, or what is that? Did I say it right?
Surugaya.
Surugaya. So not all of them are know what the other one is doing. So you could go to one Surugaya, in the heart of Tokyo. That's a really big touristy area, and it's jacked up. You can go to Surugaya in another smaller area of Tokyo, in the outskirts, in another province, and it might be cheaper. It probably is cheaper because they don't get a lot of turnover. So yeah, if you're willing, that's what I mean though. If you're willing to go on the hunt, then you're gonna find it cheaper if it's out there. Because the main reason why Akihabara and Din Town, all those places, the main reason why they're able to jack up the prices is because a lot of tourists don't want to go outside of that area. They have the tourists coming to them, so they can set the price whatever they want, and they know that, and they're smart. Now, if you're a tourist that comes in and says, I'm gonna wait, and then you go to another one in like a different province, or you get in a car and you take a little drive someplace, and then you pick it up and you look, you might be able to find it for a better deal. You might not. It just depends, But again, like the game that Joe was talking about, if a game is super rare and it's really well known as being rare, pretty much you're going to find it you might maybe find it at 10% less at another place. But again, if you enjoy the hunt, that 10% is enough for you to be like, yes, But if you don't like the hunt and you just want to get your game, you're willing to pay that 10% or 20% markup because you just have it and it's yours, period. And it just depends on the type of person you are. I collect Ultraman stuff and I collect Switch games, and I was able to find a lot of really cool Switch games and a lot of really cool Ultraman stuff. Had I gone to places that were not, in Akihabara, I probably wouldn't have paid as much. I mean, I found two of the figures that I found them in Osaka, and it was annoying me because I could have bought them both cheaper than I spent for one of them in Japan. And sorry, in Tokyo. And that was because I was playing the long game, and I thought, okay, it was the second day I was in there, a second day I was there, and I saw what I wanted, and I thought, okay, I could spend, $130 for these two figures that I want, or I can wait and pick them up in Japan at a lot cheaper. And so I played the long game and I waited. And so when I actually got to Japan, it took me forever to find them. And when I did, they were significantly marked up. And because I wasn't going back to Osaka, I had to, wait on that one. And I was able to find them at a better price a little bit later, but it was still not as cheap as I would have got at in Osaka. So that's the risk you run. So again, it just depends on the type of person you are. But to answer your original question, I believe that it is worth it to go just to experience everything that is there. And the fact that some of these places are so tiny, like that one place you went to, Beeps, that place blew me away. Like it was this place in Akihabara in a basement, and you walked in there and they had literal classic computers running video games. And like the amount of classic hardware they had was like, wow. And they had the one thing that I saw that really blew me away, and I really wish part of me kind of wishes that I would have bought it. It was a poster, and it was the classic Super NES Punisher game, and it was the poster for the game in like a classic art style, and it had the Punisher, it had Nick Fury, it had the Kingpin in the top. I took a picture of it.
Yeah, it was the key art for the Punisher coin up.
It was
coin up, yeah.
It was
the Capcom arcade.
Yeah.
I love that game.
It was beautiful.
That never came out to a home console, did it?
No, it did not.
It was. I thought it was I didn't realize it was the key art for the game for the arcade game. It was beautiful, immaculate, no wrinkles, nothing, and it was so cool, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So let me take a picture of it. So I was very happy, but so it's just like stuff like that. Like you're not gonna see that if you just buy it on eBay, and wait at your doorstep to get it,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I mean.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Joe?
Oh, as far as what?
Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Between getting it on eBay or actually making the trip and
it just
doing the
depends
hunting.
on what you want to do. It's just eBay is very finite as far as knowing what you're paying for and so on and so forth. If you want to go and look and see with your own two beady old eyes and be able to see all the stuff in person, it's just I enjoyed shopping for games. It's like part of the thing for me. I know a lot of people that just decided to go all digital, or use Steam or something as something different. I like to look at my trophy case, at least I have some physical representation of what I quote unquote don't own if need be. Some of these, obviously would still be playable after, they shut the servers off if need be, so at least I have that.
Physical for life.
Yep. Yeah, it was funny. Like we went into the Super Potato, and I pulled out my camera and I was gonna, take some video, and Joe's like, no, I'm thinking, I'm in my mind, I'm in my head, I can't do this right now.
That was too overwhelming.
He was like, I can't do this. I gotta focus. I was like, oh shit. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, damn.
When we were in Akihabara, you wanted to go eat lunch, and I said, no, I don't want to go eat lunch.
That's right. He was like, I am not hungry. I am fine. I will meet you later. And I was like, all right, go on. Like the hunt was calling him.
Mm-hmm.
The hunt was calling so much. So
I think I made a mention that Akihabara, we went to Disney Sea and Universal. This is my theme park. Okay.
Yeah. And so it got to the point where I had to tell him to stop. I was like, Joe, you got to stop. Because like, I don't think you can put any more stuff in your suitcase, sir. Stop. I was like, stop. You literally bought another. Okay, stop it.
Did you guys see the new EDF there?
Yeah, we did.
Did you buy it? Wind up buying it?
No, because it doesn't have English.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
If it had English, I would have bought it. Oh, definitely. But no, alas, we have to wait for localists.
I mean, I thought about buying it. I had it in my hand. I mean, it would have been, I think, or $35, I think, or $30. So, but it's like, nah.
Nah.
I did buy Iron Rain for some reason, so. It was 280 yen. So.
Seriously, that's like $2.
It was less than $2.
Yeah, it's like $1.40. So that's what I'm talking about. Joe had so many like games, and I was like, but it was fun. Like packing to go was fun. That's what I like to do. I like to pack to make sure that I can get everything into the bags and everything. And I did. I got all the stuff into our bags. I helped Joe get his stuff into his bags, and then Joe became he ascended and became the master. He became the Jedi.
I don't know about that. You still have some of my clothes I still don't have, so it's like
no. That's fine. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm still saying, like, at least you didn't leave anything in Japan.
No, I did not. No, we packed everything in. So
I left my Steam Deck.
Hey, we were able to get it all in.
I would throw away some socks. I think at our hotel in Tokyo they had a thing said don't leave excess in your room. We'll charge you, if you leave a bunch of boxes and or items.
No, they didn't. Well, I left a bag of recyclable because we drank a ton of water. That's the one thing you gotta do. You gotta stay hydrated. We drank a ton of water, and we broke down all the boxes that Joe did, and I broke down everything that I had, and I put it in a nice little trash bag, right next to the trash bag, and I put the bottles, plastic bottles, right next to the trash can. So, and I leave it. We always leave things, as best as we can when we leave. So I didn't get any extra charges for the room or anything like that. So it was fine. So
okay,
everything was fine.
Well, I guess that's really all the questions that I had for you guys. Was there anything that you wanted any last opinions on your trip overall that you want to share before we wrap things up?
I just want to say, listeners out there, thank you so much for waiting on us. I know being away for 2 weeks, probably can be a lot. But we are back, and we're going to continue on. Next, like Kev was saying, next week we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program. We're talking about a lot of the games that we got. One thing we didn't talk about is the games that we got. So we're going to do that because we're going to have to play some of the games that we got. I'm already going to play some of the games that I got. I've already tested all of them. Only one of them doesn't have English, and that's fine. So far, I have one more I have to test. But yeah, we're going to talk about the games that we played from Japan. Also, if you have any questions for us about our trip, definitely ask it on our Discord. Ask us questions, like, is there anything that we saw is there anything that Kevin didn't ask us that you'd like to know more about, or something that he did ask that you want us to, elaborate on? Let us know. We'll definitely spend some time doing that as well. And we want to encourage you, listeners, to definitely go to Japan if you can. It is definitely a place to go. If you love games, if you love toys, if you love anime, like, it's there and on full display for you to just enjoy. Like, it's everywhere. And there's a Tower Records, so I was very surprised by that. So,
oh, that's killer. There's a Tower Records there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Osaka? 90s. Yeah, no, it was in Tokyo. It was we stayed in Shibuya, so it was right there. So yeah, it was great. It's like a six or 7 story Tower Records.
8 stories.
Wow. 8 story Tower Records. It's
with actual records in it.
Oh yeah, actual records, actual CDs. It's bananas. So
they have, like, the one floor is just dedicated towards anime and K-pop, J-pop, and game soundtracks. So
yeah, definitely worth it.
Awesome.
So all right, Joe. Any last words from you, my friend?
Just enjoy myself quite a bit, and definitely was worth the time and effort to go over there. I wouldn't mind making, maybe not a 2-week trip. I think 2 weeks is a lot.
Yeah.
So
I'd
maybe
only do
a 7 to
week.
10 day, maybe sticking with one section of the country, I think would be good.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of, in a way, I missed Osaka when we were in Tokyo, so, but I enjoy Tokyo too. So it's just I would want more time just to get more oriented, and I would love to spend like 6 months there. So
Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. So, but yeah, that's all from the Tokyo boys.
Okay. All right. So I guess we're going to wrap this episode of the Gaming Investor special. I wanted to like a very special Blossom. A very special gaming vessels
Oh yeah,
we saw cherry blossoms.
yeah. I'll tell you, the cherry blossoms were in bloom, so they were everywhere, and it was crazy. Real quick, there was tons of people looking at cherry blossoms everywhere in Japan because they were blooming right when we were there. Like,
Oh,
and
that's
they
cool.
really started to bloom. And so when we were in Osaka, there were people that were dressed in traditional kimonos and classic Japanese garbs that were taking pictures in and around the cherry blossoms. And we got a couple pictures of ourselves doing that too. So I would say if you could really go, it did rain once while we were there, a couple times, but it really didn't affect the trip that much except for Mount Fuji. I would say going around this time, end of May, beginning of April, definitely a good time to go.
Okay. All right, folks. So for Des, aka the High Res Lover,
That's me.
aka the Cat Daddy, aka that gamer stepdaddy, and for Trader Joe, aka Jabroni Chief,
Yeah.
but you might also know him as the Food Max of Gaming, who can maximize your gaming dollar. I'm Shonoff71, aka Digga Dulamite.
Konnichiwa, everyone.
And we will be back to our regular scheduled program next week, episode 244 for your ears. Peace.